Greetings. In this video, I'm going to be theorizing how every single important character in Nintendo's Pokemon Legends Arceus game has died. Also, if I say a Pokemon or character's name wrong, too bad, who cares? We've all called someone or something the wrong name before. For example, I pronounce Arceus as Arceus, but others pronounce it as Arceus or even Arceus. But it doesn't matter, because regardless, everyone knows what I am talking about. This theory is written like end cards in the Fire Emblem series, so while it is just a theory, I'm going to be saying it as if it were official canon. So, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's dive right in. First, we have Akari and Ray. They both died the same way, regardless of who was the player character. For the sake of this video, we are going to assume that Akari was the playable character. After completing the first edition of the Pokédex of the Hisui region, Akari and her best friend Ray continued to explore other regions, wondering if perhaps there were other Pokemon. The part of itself that Arceus gave Akari would travel them from region to region. They recorded other Pokemon for the second edition Pokédex. As time went on, however, they got old and gray and weren't able to do fieldwork anymore. As such, rather than let them suffer, Arceus had the two ride upon its back at age 93 and 92 respectively, and it flew them to the afterlife as they rode it, peacefully and painlessly. They each had their own descendants, but the two of them were not in a relationship together. Kamado. Kamado went on to be known as the best fighter from the Galaxy team. In a sumo match tournament, he scored second place, only falling behind Warden Garrick. Kamado later married and had several descendants who would also like to complete the next editions of Pokédexes. A few years after the events of Arceus, Kamado passed away from a severe stroke. The stroke was, perhaps, a form of justice for him overthinking when Akari first arrived. Celine. After passing down the Galaxy team's recordings to a worthy successor, Celine married a powerful but nearly emotionless man. Her descendants would be one of the strongest people to ever bless Hisui, rivaling the strength of Akari by some sources. Celine outlived her husband and firstborn child, and died of depression and feeling loneliness all the time at age 89. Professor Laventon. Unfortunately, Laventon's life was cut a bit short. While in the fields on his lonesome one day recording some shiny Pokemon, an Alpha had attacked. He managed to catch the Pokemon, but sadly died of his wounds on the way back to the survey camp. His remains were found, and his documents were sent to Commando, who passed them down to his descendants. Laventon died at age 52. Adaman. A man of his time. He spent his time well and discovered ADHD. He was able to easily identify who had it, and become a teacher of sorts that taught people how to hone it for time. His clan continued to worship Dialga. Adaman died at 87 in a tornado. Irida. A woman remembered for how kind, but slow to trust, she was. Irida was still the youngest leader ever to lead the Pearl clan. She left an impact to trust Pokemon not as tools, but as friends. One day, she died of heat stroke at age 54 when visiting the Crimson Mirelands. She died next to her Glaceon, trying to keep her cool. She didn't die painfully, but she died slowly. Iskan. A very scared man. At age 84, he was finally starting to no longer be afraid of everything, went to Jubile village, and ordered some potato mochi. As he headed back home, a haunter saw him and scared him, wanting the mochi. However, Iskan was so afraid of the jump scare it gave him that he died of a heart attack. Arzu. Died in the Great Fashion War of 1876 after Arceus. As she was taking photography of a Pokemon that she could base hairstyles of, a jealous person who envied her success killed her with a stun tank. Azuro died at age 68. Mai died next to her Rydeer at age 100. Mai spent her life helping her precious lord. Mai didn't do much with her life to make an impact to the world, but it is known that she was the warden that took her job most seriously. Milai. While boasting about how great he was to Adaman, he decided to prove it by abandoning his post and going to catch a legendary Pokemon. He was then killed by a poisonous sting by Wurmple. His death of age is unknown, and nobody mourned him. Sabi. Grew up to be an adult with a childlike mind. She kept soaring as high as she could near Mount Coronet, but age caught up with her and she couldn't fly anymore with her Pokemon without hurting herself. Not being able to fly anymore filled her with depression, and that is how she died at age 87. Lion. Ate a bad potato and died. Kalaba. Kaleba got to see the completion of the first ever Pokedex at age 79. Afterwards, she stepped down from being a warden and died 2 years later. Not much else was recorded about her, but weirdly enough, when she did die, several unknown came to her burial. Perhaps it is because of the ruins that she had explored near the beginning of the game. Paulina. All her life, she continued to push Irida to be the best leader that she possibly could be. She was like an older sister stereotype, one who cares deeply for her friends. Paulina would go on to eventually adopt several children whose parents died for one reason or another, looking after them and supporting them in a similar manner to how she took care of Arcane. Pauline died at age 87. It is unknown how many kids she adopted, but it is rumored that more people went to her funeral than there were in the Pearl clan. Ingo. The only person to have not died. A few months after the game's events, Arceus took Ingo back to his proper time and restored his memories. He is now once again working with his brother, battling people on trains in Unova region, having a deeper appreciation for the past, as well as the present. Garrick. First person to discover homosexuality and was hailed a hero for discovering such an unknown thing. His chiseling abs made him a formidable fighter, and assisted in the completion of the Pokédex Volume 2, released 30 years after Akari finished hers, which added several Pokemon from the Kanto region. He continued to train on the mountains and became the best fighter known to mankind, with several people wishing they could imitate his fighting style. But, he should have learned to wear a shirt, and died in a blizzard at age 108. Volo. After calming down from his mental instability at never getting to meet Arceus, he actually became a true member of the Genko Guild, and met a lovely woman there who admired him for his impressive strength and determination, and his undying fascination with wanting to learn as much as he can from history. He fought cancer, strokes, blood clots. Nothing would take him down, ever, until he hit age 114, where a few months after his wife died, he got to see a vision of Arceus, and learned in his final moments to love the world that he had, and that a new one was never necessary. His final words were an apology to both Akari and Arceus, and then he died from a really, really bad headache. Little did Volo know that several years in the future, he'd have a descendant who would be regarded by many to be the scariest Pokemon champion of all time. Kogita. She continued to learn more about Arceus and eventually moved out of her one-woman village, and moved into Jubilife Village for the remainder of her life. Learning more about the modern world that was in that village, she died at age 90 from an unknown cause that is just as mysterious as herself. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a blast to make. If you want to see more of me, please check out the gaming channel. The link is in the description below, along with the various other things. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Into the nether this piglin goes! Bye-bye!